London, the British Museum, deep in the cool, climate-controlled archives, smelling of old paper and chemicals, lies the largest, most complex, and perhaps most terrifying unsolved puzzle in human history. It isn't ink and gold or cursed pharaohs. It is a pile of 130,000 clay fragments. To the untrained eye walking past the display cases, it looks like construction rubble, a heap of gray, burnt shards covered in strange, bird-like scratches. But these are the hard drives of the ancient world. This is the Library of Ashurbanipal. These are the state archives of Babylon, Nineveh, and Ur. This is the cradle of our civilization, smashed into millions of pieces by the hammer of time and war. We like to think we know the history of Mesopotamia. We've heard of the Hanging Gardens, the Tower of Babel, the harsh laws of Hammurabi. But the cold, sobering truth is, we know almost nothing. For 150 years, 90% of these tablets remained unread. Why? Because the human mind has a limit. Cuneiform is a nightmare. It's not an alphabet. It's a system where one symbol can mean a sound, a word, or a god, depending on context. And when that symbol is broken or eroded, translation becomes impossible. But 6 months ago, the rules of the game changed forever. A new, cold intelligence invaded this dusty academic world, artificial intelligence. A project called Fragmentarium did what no human could. It virtually assembled millions of scattered pieces into a single picture. And what it read has left historians pale. These aren't just receipts for grain. These are proofs that our history is not a straight line of progress. In the comments under news reports about this, people often write, "I'm bamboozled at how this is terrifying. It's just history." Today, we will answer that. What is terrifying is not the text itself. It is the realization of how vastly we have underestimated those we called primitive.
Let's start with an artifact that has baffled scholars for a century. A small clay tablet known as Plimpton 322, housed at Columbia University. For decades, the brightest minds believed it was a simple teacher's aid or an accounting ledger. But when researchers fed high-resolution scans into an AI system designed to find mathematical patterns, it produced a result that breaks the history books. It is a trigonometric table, but not a normal one. We are used to trigonometry based on angles and circles, sines, cosines, pi. The Greeks invented this system around 120 BC. It works, but it is full of approximations. The Babylonians took a different path. Their system is based on exact ratios, not angles, and it is perfect. The AI confirmed, Plimpton 322 describes a sequence of 15 right-angled triangles with a precision that modern calculators struggle with because they don't use rounding errors. Here's the kicker. This tablet is 3,700 years old. That is 1,500 years before Pythagoras was even born. Imagine finding a blueprint for a jet engine in King Arthur's castle. That is the scale of this intellectual gap. This discovery sparked a war in the comments. Some users, like @MrDennisLB, immediately point to the supernatural. There was an advanced civilization. They were called the Anunnaki. Others argue it's proof of aliens. But the truth might be even more impressive. The Babylonians used a base 60 number system, sexagesimal. That's why we still have 60 seconds in a minute and 360 degrees in a circle. It turns out base 60 is infinitely better for calculating triangles than our base 10 system. They didn't need aliens. They were simply genius mathematicians whose knowledge was completely lost. We regressed for thousands of years before we invented this math again. As one viewer at Corteum noted, it challenges the narrative, showing that scientific progress is not linear, but often proceeds with peaks and periods of oblivion. If math feels too abstract, let's talk about something that touches everyone, the Great Flood. We all know the story of Noah. We know the Epic of Gilgamesh. But AI has stitched together fragments of an even older, technical version of this myth, the Atrahasis epic. And there are details here that make modern engineers shiver. In the Bible and children's books, the ark is a boat with a bow and a stern built to sail. But in the restored Babylonian blueprints, the ark is described very differently. It was round. The text gives precise instructions.
Let her length be equal to her width. It was a giant coracle, a massive basket woven from palm fiber and coated in bitumen for waterproofing. Why round? Hydrodynamic engineers ran this model through supercomputer simulations. It turns out that for an object that doesn't need to go anywhere, but just needs to survive a chaotic storm where waves come from all directions, a circle is the perfect shape. It cannot capsize. It will never flip over. The ancient text was technically more accurate than all the later literary retellings. As one commenter at Ramaneza Kevachine 9413 wrote, "A round ship, survival in case of apocalypse, correctly grounded. Class." But the most cynical discovery is the reason for the flood. In the Bible, humans are destroyed for their sins. In the Babylonian version restored by the algorithm, the reason is terrifyingly modern. The gods decided to wipe out humanity not because we were evil, but because we were too noisy. The noise of mankind has become unbearable. It does not let the gods sleep, says the cuneiform. It changes our entire perception of ancient theology. These weren't just judges. They were irritated neighbors upstairs who decided to fumigate the apartment because the cockroaches were keeping them up. It's a cold, indifferent universe where survival depends not on prayer, but on engineering, on building the right round boat. AI has allowed us to look not just into their myths, but into their minds. And it turns out their suffering was identical to ours. For a long time, we couldn't translate Babylonian medical texts. The terms seemed like magic spells. But by cross-referencing symptoms from thousands of tablets with modern medical databases, AI made a breakthrough in psychiatry. The Babylonians were the first in history to diagnose PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. In the texts, it is called poetically and hauntingly, the hand of the ghost. Previously, we translated this as demonic possession, but look at the clinical symptoms the algorithm assembled. He sees battle in his sleep. He screams at night and wakes in a sweat. His hands shake when he hears a loud noise. He forgets the names of his kin, but remembers the faces of his enemies. This is a precise clinical description of a veteran returning from war. Babylonian doctors understood this was a sickness of the mind caused by trauma, not just cowardice or a curse. And surgery? One text describes step by step a cataract removal surgery using a bronze knife, fixing the eye, making the incision, scraping the opacity. Think about that. They were performing microsurgery on the eye while Europe was still largely running around in animal skins. As user Hernan Marnez T5Y commented, "It is sad to think that in just 200 years we made the advancements that we have today and are told that we have been on this planet thousands of years. It forces us to ask, how many times have we risen and fallen?" But the AI didn't just uncover science. It gave a voice to those who are always silent, women and children. Linguists have long known about a dialect called Emisal in the Sumerian language. It was thought to be a high poetic style for hymns, but the algorithm, analyzing context across thousands of tablets, revealed a sensation. It was a gender sociolect, a secret language of women. Women, from queens to merchants' wives, used it in private correspondence to discuss topics taboo in male society: birth control, abortion herbs, the faults of their husbands, political intrigue. While male scribes wrote these signs down, they perhaps didn't even understand the subtext and slang the women were encoding. It was a hidden network, a parallel world of communication right under the patriarchy's nose. And amidst the mountains of administrative trash, the AI found a small, broken shard. The text on it breaks your heart. It's not an epic. It's a letter from a teenage student named Idun Sin to his mother, Zenu. "Why don't you write to me? Other boys get new clothes and food from home. I walk in rags. The teacher beats me because my tablets are bad, and they are bad because my hands shake from hunger. Have you forgotten me? I am your son." The AI was able to date the letter layer. It was written shortly before the city containing the school was destroyed by a nomad invasion. We don't know if the boy got an answer. Probably not. History isn't just kings and ziggurats.
It's a hungry child waiting for a package from home 3,000 years ago. Many think predatory capitalism is a modern invention. Think again. The AI processed the archives of the Murashu family. This was a banking house in the 5th century BC. The algorithm exposed a scheme worthy of a modern financial thriller. The Murashu family colluded with officials to block irrigation canals before droughts, creating an artificial water shortage. Desperate farmers would then come to take loans at predatory interest rates of 200%. The collateral wasn't just land, it was bodies. If I do not return the debt by harvest, you may take my daughter as a concubine. The bank had a private army of enforcers who burned the villages of debtors. As commenter at Mark Stokes 711 wrote, "These tablets reveal that nothing has changed. Elites keeping records to monitor the human cattle."
Looking at the Murashu files, it is hard to argue. Standing before the museum glass, looking at these restored texts, one thought is inescapable. Why are we reading this? Because they wrote on clay. Baked clay is eternal. It doesn't rot, it doesn't rust, it doesn't fear water or fire. In fact, the fires that destroyed their cities only baked these tablets harder, preserving them forever. But what do we write on? Our knowledge, our photos, our bank accounts, they are in the cloud, on magnetic drives that demagnetize in 50 years, on plastic that crumbles. Our civilization writes on water. If a global catastrophe happens tomorrow, a solar flare, a nuclear war, what will remain of us in 3,000 years? Black screens and a layer of plastic dust. Future archaeologists, or AIs, won't be able to read our files. One commenter, at Bratley Salima, summed it up perfectly. Clay lasts longer than paper. It sounds funny, but it's true. The ancients might have been wiser than us. They sent a message in a bottle across the ocean of time, and we are only just now pulling out the cork. The artificial intelligence is still working. Only a fraction of the archive has been processed. Every night, while we sleep, the machine matches new pieces of the puzzle. Who knows what it will find tomorrow? Lost technologies? Contact with other worlds? Or perhaps the exact date of the next apocalypse, which they also managed to predict. History is no longer carved in stone. It is being decrypted in code. What do you think? Are we degrading, losing ancient wisdom, or are we just moving in a spiral? Tell us in the comments.